I'm Karla Schaefer, designer for Auntie's Beads, and I'll be demonstrating how to make a snakeskin-like bracelet using super duos. The materials used for this project will be a .012 Supple Max. I'm also going to be using 2 different colors of the super duos. I'm going to be using one color for the center and one color for the outside. And I'm also going to be using a complementary color and an 8/0 seed bead. You will also need 2 split rings, a toggle clasp, and the tools I'll be using will be a nipper tool, a pair of tweezers, and a thread zapper. I will also show you a couple of different other color combinations of the bracelet that I've already made. This is the first bracelet I did when I found the picture on Pinterest and tried to figure out my design, how we did the design. And I want to show you that there are several different colors that I've already done, and I'll add some more on the video page, more color options. But as you can see, this one, I don't think I quite got my tension quite right on the sides, as this one, it has more of a cuffed look to it. But I just wanted to show you, even with the neon colors, how different this can be and the design can be in all the different colors. I would like to be able to tell you exactly how many beads I used down the center, but unfortunately it has changed each time I've done it, especially with these neons, because I think of the finish, I actually use less. So you will need your ruler handy to measure, because we're going to do the beaded area about 6.5 inches. And so we'll need to keep that instead of giving you a bead count. But I just wanted to show you a couple of different color options that we can do in this, and then we'll get started with what I've got here. The first thing we need to do is I'm going to be using 2 yards. Sorry, 2 yards of the Supple Max, and it can be really 2.5. But I'm going to be using a lot of Supple Max because I want to be able to weave the whole bracelet with this strand. So we're going to take that and we're going to bring our ends together. So we're just going to keep it, it's somewhat doubled, but we're going to keep our ends together. And to start off, we're going to string on 4 of our 8/0 beads, seed beads, and then one of our split rings. This is going to be our end loop when we can attach our clasp. And I'm just going to let these drop to the center. And add my split ring. And then what we're going to do, I have found after doing this bracelet several times that it's a little easier to keep my ends, and I should have colored them with some Sharpie so you could see them, but keep my ends slightly uneven when working with the 2-hole duos, because the first one we're going to put on is our center, and so we're going to string 1 super duo with our center color over both threads, so that way I can get them on easier. And I'm just going to let it drop. And then what we're going to do, this pattern is just going to be a little repetitive, and then we're going to take another super duo on each of the threads. We're going to continue this pattern until we get close to 6.5 inches. And we want it to be exactly 6.5 inches with our 4 beads on the end. So you're just going to repeat this little pattern. I'll get some of this strung on and show you. Looks like, and this is going to be our center. And then we're going to build each side off of the center. And it's just, and do a section at a few beads at a time into a section. Let it slide down. Something else that you need to do, probably should do before you start stringing, is and this is what you're going to have. This is what it's going to look like. But something you should do is cull through your super duos and just make sure both of the holes are clear, because sometimes you get a little bit of slag glass in those, and I just use my tweezers. And if there's actually something in there, I can just usually poke it through with the tweezers. But I tell you what, it's much easier doing this, spending a few minutes checking this before you start stringing, than get your bracelet almost completely done and realize you can't get through one of your holes, which happened to me. So that's why I've decided I'll cull the beads first. So you just keep doing this little pattern until we get to about 6.25 inches, and check your length and add your other end. And like I said, just keep checking it ever so often to make sure you've got everything in line and you don't have two centers and or have missed one. And then we'll start building the other side. Okay, now that I've got most of this, I think I'm pretty much right where I want to be. Like I said, just measure from the ring till you get about 6 1/4, and I'm going to add the other 4 seed beads to the end here so we can add our other split ring. Just find your ends. And I like to string them on one side, kind of like when you're doing right angle weave. Then slip on your split ring. Then you're going to take the other thread and run it back through all 4 of those seed beads and make sure it circles the split ring there. Then we're going to bring them together until we get all of our work back to the end. And then I'm just going to take one strand at a time and feed it back through this center super duo. And then take the other one back through the opposite side. Through that super duo. And then give them a good tug so we can get all that together. Just kind of maneuver those around till they fall in place. There we go. And then just working one side now. We're going to complete one whole side of the bracelet before we do the other. And so what we're going to do now is take one end, and I'm just going to take this right in. There's no right or wrong to this, whatever you like. And I'm going to feed it through the top of this top hole of that super duo. And we're going to start building. And what we're going to do here now is add this white super duo, and we're going to thread these on and go back through the top of the next one. We're going to do this for the whole length of the side of the bracelet, and then we'll be ready to add next, which will be the 8/0. And we're just building on the pattern here. And again, it's important to make sure that these holes are through both sides of these beads. This is where I ran into my trouble. It was always the way to the end of the second side before when I realized it, and I had to pretty much start over. And just continue this till you get to the end, and we'll go from there. Okay, now you can see that I've got most of this filled in. I've got 2 more to fill in here, and you can see that it kind of starts to curl a little bit, and when we put that 8/0 in there, that's what's going to give it that little cuff to it. It'll kind of tighten that up a little bit. So we're just going to finish adding our sides here just by building them on in. Working with all this supplement sometimes does get in the way. You just kind of have to wrap it up somehow in your hands to get it contained. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to fill in between these with the 8/0. So what we're going to do now is take our thread and run it back through the top of this till we're back to our starting position. And now we're just going to fill it in with the 8/0. And your tension doesn't really matter until you get really to the end of it, but I do kind of tend to keep it a little tight. Like as I said in the first one, I didn't quite get that tension. And then on the other ones I have. So just go in and fill this in, but when we go back through to knot it, it's when it really, make sure you get it tight. And if you have trouble getting sometimes your thread through, you'll find it more when we're knotting. You can use your tweezers to push your threads in, or cut the end of your Supplemex on occasions when it gets bent. Sometimes that makes it a little harder to get through. But your Supplemex will work as a needle. And just continue this until you get to the end of the side. Okay, now I have completed this whole side with the 8/0s, and as you can see it really kind of curls up a little bit now, kind of cuffs. And this is where we want to make sure we get it nice and tight. And we're going to run some knots through here is what we're going to do. So we're going to run our end thread, we're back out where we started, and we're going to run it through this top hole here. This is where I said you might want your tweezers sometimes to get those to push through or to pull them through. So you can manipulate your bracelet a little bit so you can get that through the hole there. And I'm just going to have to make sure it gets past that. There we go. Supplemex is stiff enough that it's works like a needle. But as I said, you may also want to cut your end. Mine's a little crinkled up there. We've got plenty of thread to work with. That made it better. It's just a matter of getting it between there. We're going to do some half hitch knots just like we do when we're doing peyote or any other kind of a stitch. But the first challenge is getting it through there. There we go. Okay, once I get it through, I'm just going to take my thread down through the bracelet. Make sure that I get it just through the stitches, not into a hole. I'm going to run it through the middle there. And then back up on the other side of the thread and through the loop. And give it a good tug. We're going to make a couple of these. And you're going to be able to see your knot there, but once you run your thread back through this next hole, that knot will kind of go in there when you give it a good pull. So just do this a couple of times, and want to go through our super duos. We don't want to go through our 8/0s here on the end. Just make sure you get it within the body of the work. As you can see that knot kind of slips in, and I'm just going to make another knot. Same as I did before. Bring it down through the work. Bring it up on the other side of the thread, which may be kind of hard to see here, but just want to make sure that you get it through there, through the loop, and pull it. I'd say at least 3 of these little knots will be sufficient. And then you'll be ready to start your other side. I'm going to go ahead and run it through here again. Through that bead. Give it a tug. One more knot, and then I will start the other side. Also, we'll trim this and show you how you can use your thread burner to get I'm going to trim it first and then use the thread burner just to make sure I get as close as I can. There you go. And back up. Make sure you get through the loop. And pull through the next bead. Give it a tug. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim this, but I have a little bit of a tail hanging out. So I'm going to take my thread burner, and with the thread burner you just press the button on the side till that tip heats up, and actually I see a little smoke coming off of it. Then I'm just going to touch it to the end of that. Not touching anything else, but it's going to go ahead and melt that down. And now we'll be ready for our next side. And you simply do the second side just as you did the first. But you add your super duos first. So we're going to come through our top hole. And start adding those super duos till you get to the end. Add your 8-ohs, and then you'll be coming back up to the top, to the side here, and add those knots, and then you'll be ready to add your clasp. So just continue this building pattern down the side and back up. Now I've got the whole bracelet completed. I've completed both sides. I knotted the other end and trimmed it. And now we are simply ready to add our toggle to complete our bracelet. So I'm using the split ring, so you can use a split ring plier or a pair of tweezers, whatever you like. And I'm just going to open up my split ring and add my toggle. Some people prefer the split ring pliers. I actually like the tweezers. That's whatever you like. As I sit here and struggle with the tweezers. Alright. I like using the split ring on this because it's just more secure, and after you've done this much work, I hate for, you know, your bracelet to come apart with just a jump ring. So I'm just going to roll that on, get that on, and then add the other end, and we'll have our bracelet completed. And there you go.